I'll take you through the reasoning with our Logit livestock calculator. So we've got some computations included inside this Excel sheet. We've got a natural increase value provided to us by the ATO. We've got a date range, and we've got our sales, killed for ration, stock on hand at the end of the year, loss by death, so that would be a natural death, stock on hand at the beginning of the year, purchases, natural increase. And you see that the subtotals in both these cases must always equal. We've got our, if you click on here, you can see the computation, and you can see here that I've given you the formulas. Over here we've got a bank statement, and we've emulated some transactions, and over here we've got a copy of that livestock activity. But moreover, if I can try to narrow this down, I think this will help here. Whoops, wrong way. Okay, so you can see here we've got our bank statement, we've got some verbs which you can select from there, we've got our units, we've got our unit types, we've got our dates, we've got our debits, credits, and what we're seeing here is the transaction verbs, the unit types, the type group, and then the relationships to the chart of accounts. So we can see that this over here ultimately ends up as our trial balance because it's got all the values on it with their respective positive and negative numbers representing balances. So 2663 is the final balance that we have on our bank pre 30 June 2015, given that we're saying that we're going to derive a balance sheet for 30 June 2015 and also a profit and loss for the time frame 1 July 2014 to 30 June 2015. So something else to notice here is that we're saying that within the equity section we've got our capital contributed, so there's our capital getting contributed into the bank, and we've got 4,000 also some more capital. So what's that capital? Well, we did have some opening inventory, so we've got 24 stock on hand of these cows at the beginning of the year worth $4,000. So just quickly whiz over here and you can see I've represented that opening balance sheet essentially inside here, just to give you an idea of where those numbers are coming from. So if we come back over here, you'll notice that we don't need a natural increase value and we don't need a natural death value because those values, you can see they're blacked out. The dollar value is irrelevant because what happens is it simply impacts our closing stock value through the average cost computation. So there's no need to account for a dollar value for natural increase within your ledger or deaths in your ledger. Those are background computation values that simply impact that closing inventory value. Okay, so notice the positive and negative numbers as I mentioned, and then what we can do is we can come down from there and we can have a look and see how that sort of plays out in our balance sheet. So we've got our bank balance. This is all as at 30 June 2015. We've got our closing livestock value, and we can check that off. And of course that's the check, right? That's a checkpoint, an important checkpoint. Closing livestock value on hand in our current assets at 30 June must equal our calculator value for us to know that we're doing everything right. Total assets, easy. No liabilities, net assets, easy. And down onto equity. Well, before we get to equity, let's just have a look at what happened with our trade, because if we think about what's happened through our trading activity, we can see that our trade tells us via the calculator that we've got a gross profit of 7,614, and if we have a look over here in our profit and loss, we've got exactly the same. So that's pretty much what we want. Well, it's exactly what we want. So let me just make that a little bit clearer so we can see the whole thing, the profit and loss and balance sheet. So there is our sales. Now what you'll notice is that with the sales I didn't include what we ate as rations. Instead, for the cost of goods, I've reduced the cost of goods by what we ate. Okay, some people might say that we should have the rations as part of our sales value, but I'm treating it as cost of goods. The end result, the total cost of goods will work out the same regardless of which way you do it, simply because of the positive and negative impacts, right? So sales less cost of goods. Cost of goods is computed as follows here. We know what our opening stock was. We know what we purchased. We know what we killed for rations. We know what our closing stock was. And therefore, we can simply derive our total cost of goods. And finally, our gross profit is our sales less our cost of goods. And we end up with exactly the same value as we do from our calculator. So if you're not getting the same value in your cost of goods for that particular type of livestock, well, you've got something wrong.